everybody. We're back with the Real Bodybuilding Podcast. This is episode number 56. And I'm here with Mr. Samson Dauda. Is that how you pronounce it? Dauda?
Dauda, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got it first time. All the versions of that I've heard on stage and everything else is, oh, man.
Yeah, well, listen, I got my name's been butchered like a million times, so I know how it feels. Listen, I've been watching you for a couple years now. And your physique is incredible, and I think it's. I actually think you're more one of the underrated bodybuilders in the league. That I think once people get to notice you more, I think you're going to start to really explode on the scene. But I want to go back before we get into your current situation. I want to go back a little bit and just give people a little bit of history of who you are. So, where did you turn pro?
I turned pro in a Diamond Cup in Italy.
Okay.
You know, and that's just a week after, obviously, I know you know James Hollinshead.
Yep.
Basically, a week after coming second, just missing out on pro card and losing to him for his pro win with the British. And a week later, basically, I went off to Italy and I won my pro card there.
Okay.
So that was back in 2017.
Okay. So what was your first pro show?
First pro show was EVLS Prague in 2018.
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks after the Olympia. That's the year Rowley won it. Nathan was second. So it was basically that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so that basically was that basically show. That was my first show of the year, so I think kind of like get to the feeling of what it's like to standing next to the big boys and what it's actually truly like. And basically, we picked that show because we knew most of them guys will come up the Olympia stage and they'll do that. So it was kind of like a real guess for you to stand next to them guys and really first time see, okay, where exactly how big is the gap that you got to work towards. So we basically picked that show to do that in Europe.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that you did that because a lot of guys will wait to try and catch up. And one of the things I did when I first turned pro, and I don't really count it on my record, but I turned pro in 2006, and a week later it was the Atlantic City Pro. Wow. And I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm going to wait because, it's a week later. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. But Chad Nichols was coaching me at the time, and Chad was like, go do it. And I got the same experience you did. I went to stand next to the guys and see how much bigger they were. And so when you got that experience next to Rowley of all people, how does that feel? Like, how big were you at that time? What were you weighing?
I was about what was it? I can't remember. I think I was about 260 or just a bit less at that point. I know I do because I work more in kilos than pounds, so I'm a bit thinking about
how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Okay. So you're definitely a bigger guy. So 260, how'd you feel there?
Yeah. Oh man, I felt completely outdone. I mean, it was like, okay, you've seen the photos, you've seen the videos, you watched the Olympia, you know what them guys are like. You can, but it's a completely different level seeing in the flesh. Yeah. We were backstage and, coming there, I'm coming in like pretty much like a fanboy, thinking, okay, man, it's Rowley. He walks in and we were like, okay, guys, all right, let's get, because my girlfriend, she preps me and she's kind of always been backstage with me in shows. And we're backstage every time before we go on shows, she's trying to hype me up with, come on, man, you got this. Come on, you can take it. Let's go. Yeah. So we're backstage and she looks in and she goes, I would like to tell you that kind of things. Like, yeah, you got this. But I just see him. And let's just do your best. Do your best. Yeah. And I looked and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to say nothing. I understand. Yeah, I get it. So it really kind of opened my eyes to that. And I remember we were on stage and then they did the first call out and they called out Rowley, they called out Nathan, they called Lucas Oswaldel, and another Czech guy, I think his name is Pavel. Yeah. And I was standing right by the side and I was watching them pose from the back.
Yeah.
And the amount of muscle density I saw from that point, my jaw dropped. I looked at it and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And from that point, I'm thinking, I want to do whatever it takes to get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, it was like a shock for me. And yet at the same time, it was like a wow. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. I had the exact same experience. It's like you think you know how big they are, and you think you kind of have an idea, and then you see it in real life, and you're like, "Oh shit!" And the funny thing is, the funny thing is, you're saying that at 260 pounds, and you're still floored.
It's still like completely out of class, Yeah. And the thing is, you got to think from my side. Like, look, when I started bodybuilding in 2014. Okay. Yeah. And basically, when I did my first show, basically, the Generation Iron DVD just came out.
Okay.
And that was the first time I actually watched a bodybuilding like DVD segment like that.
Yeah.
And guess who was in it? Rolly was in it.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
For me, exactly. So for me,
Yeah.
I was doing my first amateur show,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm watching because I remember it's the day of the show. I was watching. That's when the DVD came out, the day of the show. So I was behind my girl. We were in her place, and we were watching this the morning before we went to the show that evening. And I'm completely loving this. I'm looking at them thinking, wow, how amazing. I would love to watch these guys. Look at that. I would love to be at that level one day, whatever.
Yeah.
So now, and then 2018, I'm on stage, and I'm seeing Rolly standing next to Rolly. So you can imagine what that does to your mind. Like,
yeah.
You just, and it's almost like people say, okay, you're a fan, but you got to be cool and everything. But at that point, in my head, I'm thinking, I was just watching you on DVD 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm standing here looking at you now going, what? This is not even like, it's just, it's hard to take in.
Yeah.
And at that moment, people get, they get feel this. But at that point, I got this big grin on my face. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. I'm loving this moment. It's really, this is inspiring to me. This really is kind of powerful. So we kind of like, so when we were in that crowd show, we seen these guys face to face for the first time. It was like, it was a shock, and it was like it was a knock kind of thing, like, whoa, okay, that's the next level right there. But at the same time, all he did, it made me more hungry. Because I'm thinking, okay, look, 4 years I'm here. Okay, give me another 4 years. Okay, give me another. I'm hungry enough to say. So it was kind of, you kind of got that from it, and it was great. I mean, it was my first pro show, and I came 5th at Prague that year, and I was thinking, wow, and I remember seeing Sean Roden. He was at that show, and he came to talk to me, and he's kind of saying to me, man, your first pro show, you came 5th, and you got a check. And he goes, man, you did something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And and I he kind of gives you that inspiration. You know what? Yeah, okay, I'm happy about this. I've seen what is there and what's capable, what's possible, and it really did kind of make me feel like, I want to go back to work and actually get that done,
But I want to go back a minute. So you started bodybuilding in 2014?
Yeah.
How old are you?
First ever. I was 29 when I did mine. I'm 34 now.
Oh shit, you started late.
Oh yeah, I was a very late dude. I mean, I was always into sport. I was always a skinny guy. I mean, but before I started the gym, I was basically 7 kilos, which is, I think it was 100 and I can't remember. I'm really bad at converting.
70 kilos is about 155 pounds, 160 pounds.
Yeah, and basically that's where I was when I first even went to the gym, and that was back in 2012.
Wow, that's a lot of weight to put on, man.
So it was a really short time, and it's only when I started putting on weight, and I met my girl. She was like, you know what, you actually got good shape on you. Do you ever thought about doing bodybuilding? And I kind of thought like, nah, I don't think it's for me, because then I was playing rugby then for my club at home. So I was like, oh, I'm a rugby player, I'm the man's sport, all the big kind of thing. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to go on stage in pants, man. Come on, man. That doesn't even sound right.
It's not the same thing, yeah.
So she kind of slowly kept on putting that message in my head. And I remember sometime I was at a rugby club, and guys started noticing that I was looking a bit like, they started noticing difference. And they said to me like, bro, have you ever thought about actually, doing something physique competition?
Mm-hmm.
And then for the first time I actually stopped and actually thought about it and go, hell, they must see something if they keep saying it to me. Let me look at what I can find. So basically, we just found a local show. That was towards the end of 2013. We found a local show for early 2014. I said, okay, you know what? For the first time, let me actually train like a bodybuilder and train fully like I want to do this sport. Yeah. So I basically spoke to my girl at the time. She was more into it than I was. And she basically started, okay, you got to do your research. She started introducing me to watch Dave Palumbo, start watching all the bodybuilding, buying the Flex magazine, start getting into it that way.
Yeah.
And then I started watching all the history of bodybuilding on YouTube, backtracking all the past Mr. Olympias, all that. I started watching, I started kind of seeing the sport, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I kind of sort of getting into it. Yeah. And then the time came for us to do the show, and I was doing it was a local show for first timers, guys I've never competed before. Yeah. So kind of basically training for that show, it took 2 months training for the show. Yeah. I didn't diet. I just basically, it was a long story because I kept on lying to my girl and saying I'm dieting when I didn't diet. And, and she caught me one time eating pancakes when I was freaking like 2 weeks from a show, and she lost it. And I was like, what? But basically, it was the first time I basically stepped up my training, like, you know what, really train. You go on purpose now. There's a reason for you to be in the gym. Yeah. So we kind of trained, we got in shape, and did the time show. Came up on stage, was that morning. And I won the first timers, hands down. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, this is, I mean, you got to understand, the guy I was before we actually did that, I'm the opposite of everybody. I'm the guy that hides away a lot. I was very low confidence, So the idea, I mean, prior to this, even when I was putting muscle on, if we went to the beach or the pool, I wouldn't take my top off.
Okay.
I was one of them, like really just kind of like, so when we were backstage and it was like, okay, guys, get pumped up. And my girl was saying, okay, come on, let's get you oil, let's get you going. And it took me 20 minutes to actually take my clothes off.
Really?
I was looking around like, ooh, I don't know. There was loads of people there. Was it this? I was like, I'm not ready for this. No. She was trying to talk, going, what are you doing? We gotta go. Yeah. Eventually, it stripped off and everything and go on stage. And I remember walking on stage at that moment, you know, getting all the feeling and everything. As soon as I walked, a light just clicked in my head. I went on stage and I was just like, it felt natural. It just felt home to me. And then I came out off stage. She looked going, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
She's like, you're walking around like you own the goddamn place. What was it?
Yeah,
I don't know. So basically, one of the first time of the show, and then the guys that promoted the show saying, man, you look really good, kid. The bigger boys are coming in later tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to jump on stage with them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of get a feel for it. I'm like, hey, I'm already here. Go ahead.
Yeah,
so a few hours later, went with the open guys, got on stage with them, and everything else. And I'm hearing people cheering and they clapping and they really going for it. I'm thinking, okay. Came off stage and one of the guys came back. One of the guys I was watching the show going, guy, I think you got this class, man.
No
and I'm
way.
thinking, I'm like, what do you mean? Are you seeing all these big guys? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, man, I think you got this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, what? So we came in and they called in the results. And I'm standing there and they call in third place, second place. And then they called me out for the winner. And I'm like, it just like, at that moment, I'm like, that's it. I found the sport for me. I'm not doing anything else. This is me.
Yeah.
Just literally just clicked. From that point on, I'm like, yeah.
And you didn't even diet.
It was the craziest thing ever, you know. So it really kind of clicked for me from that point on, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? The idea for the first time, obviously coming from a team sport where if you play as a team, you can play your best game ever, but if the team don't do well together, you all lose. There's nothing. So you come into a sport where now it's not individual effort, where if you train, you give it your all. The result is based on your outcome and yours alone. Yeah. There's not a team, it's just you and your dedication that paid off. So for me, it was the first time being in a sport like that. And for me, it really kind of gelled with me. And I was like, okay, if I'm willing to put in 100% of the work, there's no other thing outcome that can defer that. It's just all my effort. So from that point on, I was completely hooked, you know.
You know what your story reminded me of? So I dealt with a lot of anxiety in my 20s, more so like a social anxiety, almost like a shyness. I don't know if that's what you dealt with or it's just nervousness or shyness or whatever, but your story reminded me of when I was dealing with my anxiety. I used to read about it. Always helped me to read about other people that had anxiety. And I don't know if you know who Johnny Carson is, but Johnny Carson had the late night show here in America. And as popular as he was and as amazing he was on TV, as soon as the cameras went off, he would go to his dressing room by himself and he couldn't be around anybody else. So when you're telling me the story about going on stage and it just clicking, that's what it reminded me of. Because I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm very introverted, but when I walk out, it just people are like, "Well, how are you on stage in your underwear but you're shy?" Yeah, and I'm like, I can't tell you why. The lights are on. I don't even see the people. I just do my thing. Yep. Right.
And it's exactly that, because even now I still have the same thing where if I'm on stage, I could be in front of 1,000 people and I'm like, I'm here, let's do it. As soon as I walk off stage and I'm around a bunch of people, I feel very uncomfortable. Yeah. It just feels like, I just feel nervous. I feel like, oh man, it just feels very uncomfortable for me. Yeah. And it kind of complete contrast of two worlds. Like you don't understand, like how can you be there in your underwear on stage? Yeah. But yet you can't be here right now. And it's a really odd one, but I understand that.
One of the hardest things for me, you know, the weird thing was you'd be on stage, like at some of the smaller shows, at the Arnold's and stuff in the Olympia, it doesn't happen as much, but at the smaller shows, you'd be on stage and then, I mean, I'm sure you've been there where you walk off stage and now the crowd's there and they all want to they all want to shake your hand and they want to talk to you. It's so weird that like a couple of the shows where I did really well, like I have 2 pro wins in both shows. I would walk off stage and everybody wants to congratulate you. And my thought is like, I got to get out of here.
I got to get out. That's exactly it. I want to be alone. I just want to go back to my little hole and just stay quietly. It's exactly that.
It's horrible.
I don't understand where it comes from.
It's not good for us, right? Because some people don't know that that's what's going through our mind. So like people may take it as, oh, you're being rude or, oh, you don't want. Yeah. So I think it's important that like we try and figure it out. We try and like deal with it, but that's always what kind of, I was dealing with the exact same thing that you're talking about. So anyway, the other question that came to mind was, and I'm sure everybody who's listening to this is wondering, how did you go from 150 pounds to 260 pounds in like a couple of years? How's that happen?
It was basically consistency to as much as I can put it. One, because I never had a coach. I have everything. I had to figure everything out myself. Me and my girlfriend, we basically had to figure out everything out. The closest thing to a bodybuilder I knew was my friend Chris Jones. He owns a gym that was almost like an hour from my town. Yeah. And he was the only person I could speak to and asked him about questions and stuff like that. I didn't know. I didn't even know that black guys needed a tan before they walked on stage the day before the show. I mean, you got to understand, there was no, where do I get the information from? So it was a bit all new to me. So he was the only place I can get in. So we basically kind of we basically just learned. We were, my girl, she reads a lot. She studies a lot. And that's her thing. Yeah. So as soon as we kind of seeing that, okay, this is what we want to do, we started studying, we started checking every information as we can. We started trial and error, failing some point of things. And where it was it was kind of mentality of, I never miss a training session. I never miss a meal. I never miss anything. Everything's always planned and is on point. Everything has always been scheduled, planned and is on point. Yeah. And we just kind of always followed that part of it. And then the more we kind of did it, the more we started figuring my body out and realized, okay, this works for you, this doesn't work for you. This works for you, that don't work for you. You can use this, but you can't use that. Those things. Can you
give me an example? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Can you give me an example of something easily that maybe you tried and didn't work?
Yeah, but trying to eat clean through the off season, stay on your clean meals like rice, chicken breast, and everything. If I do that alone, I just fade away.
Really?
Nothing happens. I just really fade away. Nothing.
Okay.
So we kind of realized, okay, same time, likewise, if I try to eat all dirty and heavy food, I don't put any muscle. I don't grow at all.
Yeah.
So we kind of then figure out the system of, okay, 90% of your meals has to be clean and very high in protein and everything else. The other 10% has to be junk.
With a little bit, yeah.
Exactly. So that's how we kind of put the calories together and kind of start figuring that. Because one of the things we kind of realized with I got such a great metabolism that I can eat anything. I never get bowel problems. I never get anything. I can eat anything and digest it properly without a problem. It could be the morning of a show. I'll have a big pizza and still walk on stage with abs all flat and everything. I'll be like, hey, great, good to go.
Really? Wow.
Don't have anything like that whatsoever. Never had it. Yeah. So we kind of figured out what my girl basically figured out that, okay, for me to make sure I never lose that ability. So during the off-season, she always varies my food a lot. So I never stick to just chicken breast and rice. I always have. Okay,
is that theory? Sorry to interrupt again. I just have to get these questions, and I'm sorry, but is her theory behind that? Like your body won't become you won't develop any allergens or anything to any specific food?
There you go. Okay. So you don't restrict. As long as you don't restrict your body to something, you can always digest everything. So in the middle of the prep, when we have the cheat meal, I have the full-on pizza, ice cream, the whole lot to just get in. So it's never kind of restricted. Even during the meal, I have steak, fish, rice, sweet potatoes. She always mixes up my diet as much as possible. So I'll never get to the point where I'm only having one thing for so many weeks. And then when I come to touch something else, it's almost like body's just completely in shock of, it's completely not used to it.
Okay, one sec. So in the off season, this is all new to me. I haven't really heard anybody else talk about this. So I have a lot of questions. Yeah. So in the off season, let's say she's varying your food, right?
Yeah.
Let's say your calories are set at let's say you're eating 5,000 calories a day, right? Just hypothetically.
Yeah.
When she's varying your food, is she trying to stay around that 5,000 calorie range, or you guys don't count calories?
We don't specifically count calories, but we know roughly what the number is, because I'm hitting them about 5,000 to 7,000 calories a day. And we know full well that my meals, although they switch through the meals of the day, I mean, she does a lot of cooking, so I got to give her a hand for that. I'll have something like oats and eggs and shake in the morning for breakfast. And then I have sweet potato and steak for second meal. And then I have pasta and chicken, or pasta and something else for third meal, and mince and stuff like that. And what is, every single meal is changed, even though it's the same meal every day.
I got it.
But through that day, I'll have different source of protein, different source of carbs.
Yeah.
So it's constantly, I'm constantly having different sources of food from everything else.
That's a great idea. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I wonder also too, though, if your digestion is really, really good, because you're still pretty fresh. I mean, it seems like you've only been bodybuilding for 5-8 years, it seems like. So, I mean, but it is a good theory. I wonder if that's part of the rest of our problem, is that a lot of us stick to, a certain couple foods, and then we start to develop intolerances to these other things.
Yeah. You know, because I think it's one thing she kind of figured out early on, and she kind of taught me that, and kind of kept that to kind of vary my own immune system, where I digest food and everything else. And she always kind of, the way she kind of do it is like, she never put, even when we're kind of dieting hard, she will never restrict me to say, okay, right, you can't eat nothing now. It's just pure protein or from this source, or pure carbs from this source and everything. We always kind of have to kind of vary that. Even though we're bringing down the calories down, we still have to vary where the sources of carbs come from, where the sources of protein comes from. So I'm never in that position where I'm lacking something that I normally digest in the off-season I'm not getting now.
Interesting.
You know?
So how long have you been with your girl? Because she keeps coming up. So let's discuss her.
Man, I've been with her since we met in 2012. Okay. And we met in the gym. Like, we just met training in the gym and everything else. And we kind of went through there. And she was always more into, like, obviously the fitness part. I think she used to go with a bodybuilder before that. And she kind of knew more up because she was a fitness instructor and dietitian before we kind of met and everything else. Okay. So when she kind of talking about bodybuilding, she basically shift her focus completely to studying the art of bodybuilding, studying all that from every source she could find to get as much information possible. Because she was getting things, and she was telling me about things, and I'm looking, going, huh? What are you talking about? Huh? And she was saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to read this magazine, you got to read that magazine, you got to follow this person, you got to watch this person. And I'm thinking, okay, shit, I just want to lift weight. I don't, you know, but you know, with time she kind of got in my head, and she kind of taught me things like, okay, this is how it works, this is how everything kind of flows in. And we just clicked that way. And even now, people kind of like, oh, what? We've trained every single training session from the moment we met. We've done it together. You know, we're in the gym together. We're training together. We're doing everything. So together. And we just seen that it's a complete team effort. It's never been, you know, just, oh, my hard work, she's sitting in the background telling me what to do. It's always like, she's always monitoring everything else. She's monitoring my diet, and she's checking everything else, and she's doing my training and everything like that. So she's always played a massive role in the whole thing for me. Yeah. You know?
Is it frustrating having your girlfriend? Is it girlfriend or wife? Are you married?
Girlfriend.
Is it frustrating having your girlfriend as a coach? Like, do you ever want to freak out and be like, oh, man, get out of here?
We have so much arguments, especially when it comes to the peak week and the day before the show. Okay. Now, always the same. I mean, many people probably go the same way, but I'll tell you straight up how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're coming to a show. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, I want to be full.
Yeah.
She's looking at it going, you need to be dry. Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, so you can imagine us, we're in a hotel room when we're looking in the mirror, I'm saying, I'm still looking flat. She's going, no, you're fine. I'm saying, nah, I'm not. I need to be full. And where it's just two of us and we see each other all the time, we need that third person looking and go, no, this or that. Yeah. And this is where we end up start clashing. Yeah, and we always end up, no, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't know. And most of the time she's probably right and I'm wrong. I got to admit that.
Yeah.
But this is where we end up. And now with life, I kind of learned to say, look, shut up, listen, don't complain. She sees something, just listen to what she's saying. Yeah. But it's always kind of, we have arguments over that. You know, we have arguments over freaking how much food I've eaten. And me, in off season, I don't like to eat because I really can't stand eating that much food. Yeah. She's pretty much forcing it down my neck. Yeah. Come on, man, next meal. And then prep time, I'm starving. And she does this thing where in the house, we have no snacks at all.
Yeah. Good.
Nothing.
She's
if
smart.
There's no meal I can eat, there's nothing in the house. Nothing. Yeah. Like absolutely not a single thing. We have the meal I'm supposed to eat and shakes. Nothing else. Yeah. So prep time, I'm starving, middle of the night. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to wake up and just go to the kitchen and pick up a little treat, you know, find something. Nothing. And I'm look, there's this one time, right? I'm waking up middle of the night, and I'm starving, and it's that kind of hunger where you're so hungry you can't sleep. Yeah. So I'm like, I gotta have something. So I'm looking in the fridge, thinking, this is crazy. I can't find anything to eat. I'm like, okay, you know what? So I'm like, I'm going to the stores. I'm going to buy something out. Oh, shit. So I'm playing the spy. I'm putting on my clothes quietly. Yeah. Grabbing the car keys, trying to sneak out the house with her hearing it, just to drive to the petrol station down the road to buy some stuff. It's just, when you have your diet coach in front of you all the time, man, you're definitely not cheating on your diet. That's one.
Yeah. Well, you know? I can imagine it being a tough thing, not necessarily because of cheating. I think there's pros when I think of it in my mind, I think there's a lot of pros and cons, right? Because on the plus side, I think in the off season, it would be amazing having my coach right there next to me going, eat, eat, don't fucking skip your meal, eat. Because a lot of us, because we eat so much food, the biggest struggle sometimes is actually just you know, maybe you eat half your meal. You don't feel like eating the rest, or like you're just really stuffed from eating 6,000 calories a day. So having somebody there to like remind you that you're being a pussy is always a good idea, right? But I think when you're dieting, and I couldn't imagine, like, because I get really fucking moody when I'm dieting.
Oh man, yeah.
I can't imagine having my wife as my coach, because I'd probably kill her.
Oh yeah, we've had. I mean, the thing is, we've gotten better. I think over the years we kind of gotten better. I mean, this last prep, like I said, I've been prepping for a long time this year, and I think I've kind of realized the shortcoming in myself and realized, okay, don't give into this part. When you get this emotion, don't give into it, because it's just a diet. It's not you. Okay. She's kind of realized, because she's dieted herself for shows before. She realized sometimes when I lash out, it's not me. It's the process of what is happening. So we've kind of grown into the point where we know, okay, look, some things you just gotta be flexible and don't be a dick. Same time, be understanding, and just kind of realize that. So it's kind of worked in that way. Don't get me wrong. We still have moments where it's like, yeah, come on, you know, going back and forth about it. I'm like, look, I just don't want to talk to you right now. Just get my face, you know. So we still have that moments, but but you know, it happens, and that's kind of I think you just kind of build on that, basically.
Yeah, it's funny. The people who have watched this podcast before have probably heard this story, but me and my wife have been together for 13 years, and the first year we were together, she's always been in the bodybuilding scene, but on the back end, like marketing and research for different supplement companies and stuff like that. And I did my first show, and she's like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Because all of a sudden I went from like the nice guy in the off season to like this cranky fucking right. So we actually like broke up for a year, and and in the year we were broken up, she did 2 or 3 shows, and then we ended up getting back together. And then when I would diet and I was like, I would lash out, like you say, like she got it. She was like, okay, I know he's he's hungry. I know he's just being a dick because he wants to eat, and she would just fluff it off. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting you said that, because it's just 2 different people.
Yeah, because I think it's one thing. When the person you're with, if they've been through it themselves, they understand what you're going through.
That's right.
It's one thing. It's very, especially for bodybuilding, it's very hard. You can say, "Oh yeah, I understand you're hungry. I understand it," but when you haven't really felt it, it's hard to really truly understand. Look, he's acting like this because of that. But when they've been through it, I think they're a little bit more okay. I get it. Okay, I know what it feels like. I know what it must be going through, how hard it is.
Well, I think it's not just hunger. That's the thing people I think struggle with is there's hunger, but then there's also the pressure of looking good, the pressure of doing well at the show. So it's not just like if I was just hungry, it wouldn't be a big deal. But there's like all these other stresses that like come on top of it. So I think that's what the struggle is, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I work full time, right? At the same time when I'm dieting. Now, it's like you have to have self-control. You genuinely have to have control, because my job, obviously, I'm dieting. I've got the same kind of irritation where you have this complete irritation about everything, and then your work and your boss comes in and he becomes a dick, and he's a dick to you.
Yeah.
And every single part of your being at that point want to say, you know what, go get that. And you're thinking, you biting your tongue, and you're thinking to yourself, don't do it. Don't do it. So whatever you just don't do it. Just hold your mouth and just do not do it. Because if you do, you're going to regret it later. You're going to kick yourself up. Don't say a damn thing. Just nod your head and go, okay, all right.
What do you do? What do you do for a living?
Construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that one, I think for me, I struggle more with that than actually my girl.
Dude, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. You probably put in like 10-hour days at work.
I'm lucky. Because I'm working in maintenance part of it. I'm working in maintenance in terms of care home maintenance. I only got to do a 9 to 5 shift now. The days where I used to do a longer shift, I think when I started bodybuilding, I then cut my hours and went into something that was a lot lighter to handle both worlds for it.
Yeah.
But you still have the same process during the time when you're there. But there's a lot shorter shifts. So I'm quite happy about that, because it still allowed me to kind of follow that training regime and everything else, and have the set time of when I got to be there and be home and everything else.
Yeah. So, I remember seeing you doing like 2 or 3 shows in a row. Was that 2019?
Oh, I did that 2019.
What shows did you do?
We did 4 shows in a row in 2019. So we had British Grand Prix, did the Chicago Pro the week after, did Vancouver, and then did Puerto Rico.
Now, you were in the top 5 at all 4 of them, right?
Not in Chicago and not in Vancouver.
Okay, tell me what you think the knock on your physique is, because I look at it, and maybe I haven't studied it enough, but I look at it and I think it's put together really well. And the only thing, if I had to point to something, I don't know if like, is your conditioning off? Like, I don't know. Why are you not placing where I think you should be placing?
So basically, I think when we did the British, I mean, one of the great shows, definitely. Could have been drier in that show. Definitely could have been drier. Could have been tighter in that show. But then couldn't complain about the placement because I was like, wow, okay, we got that high.
Yeah.
And then what it is it's always the same kind of feedback we get. It's like, you just got to be just a little bit tighter. You know, you just got to be just a little bit tighter. You're almost like you're at the door. You're still knocking at that door. You just haven't broken in there yet. Where it's that, wow, okay, bang on. There you go.
Yeah.
So time and time, we've kind of been told that it's just the way it is there. Because prior to that, basically, we always told before coming up, well, you just need a little bit more size, you need more food, you need more density, whatever. So last year was the first year where we had that. We finally got enough size, got enough density, and everything else. And it's just the case of, okay, now you really got to dial in just that little bit more to actually really push through there. Yeah. But then, even then, that obviously carried us to quite a few places because we passed quite a few guys with that look.
Yeah.
Just to get into that winning circle and everything else, I think we just needed to be just that little bit more tighter. Yeah. And it's something that we came off last year thinking, okay, look back at the things, we look at the picture, look at what the feedback was and say, okay, right, we know what to work towards next year. So
I think I think your shape is what's carrying you by everybody.
Yeah.
You have really, really good shape. So, but this is what the people listening are going to say. Well, why can't you just get shredded? No. That's what the regular people, why can't you just get shredded? You're a pro. Why can't you just get shredded? So tell me what, I'm going to ask you that question. Why can't you just get shredded? What do you think is holding you back?
I think what it was like kind of last year, it was mentality that was holding me back last year.
What does that mean?
You got to understand. We got to understand where I've come from, where I was always a skinny guy. Okay. And I was looking at bigger guys, and I think I want to be big. I want to be big. I want to be big.
Okay.
So we did all our years. We were like, okay, more size, more size. It's always the feedback was always more size, more size, more size. Yeah. So for the first time last year, I walked out on a show after reading and got told, "Damn, you holding a lot of muscle. You just need to be tighter." Yeah. So that was the first time where my mentality was the first time where I clicked and go, "Are you trying to tell me I don't need more? You're not saying get more size. You're actually telling me this is the other way around." So it was the first time where you kind of have like this call it body dysmorphia, isn't it? Is that
of course. Yeah.
I want to be, because I think sometimes it's a negative thing to do because you have your mind, okay, I want to be a certain way by the time I get ready for stage. But you get to that way, you're thinking you're not quite ready yet. You still need to cut down a little bit more. But that mental thing of, yeah, but I want to be big. I want to be big. I want to be full. I want to be big. It starts holding you back from really digging into that point. Yeah. So I think last year was basically, for me, I felt like last year was a revolution for me because it was the first year where I actually got told many shows like, man, you got more than enough size to hang it. You know?
Yeah, I can tell you that.
Yeah. You know, and now it's basically coming in this year now. It was more or less like, look, you got the size now. Just change your mentality. It's no longer an issue. Now you gotta be deeply certified. You gotta be conditioned enough. You have to be hard enough. You have to be dry enough. And for the first time, I actually told my girl, no matter what I say, if I'm not conditioned enough, just tell me no. Keep going. Okay. Just no. You're not there yet. No. Keep going. Yeah. You know? And that was basically what we kind of planned in this year was like, look, condition is everything. I don't care. You got it. Pull it in. Because we felt like we could have been ready at 280 this year. Yeah. In my head. But she was like, no, pull another 5 pounds just to make sure that you're deeply set. That there's no question about it. Sure. And that's basically what we kind of planned in, and that's what we kind of did this year.
Yeah. It's tricky. The best condition I ever got into, I think, was with Chad Nichols. And it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best physique I had because we would pull too hard sometimes, but it was the most shredded I got. And Chad was evil, man. Like I would, sometimes I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, I'm fucking ready. You're striated everywhere. I striated glutes, striated fucking everything. Right. But he would be like, no, the striations can be deeper. There's another level you haven't hit yet. And I think a lot of guys make that mistake where they're like, okay, well, I got striated glutes. That means I must be ready. But the striations could be crisper and deeper. Yeah. So Chad would push me. Like when I thought I was ready, Chad would push me so much harder. And then I would achieve this like really grainy, like a level like I didn't think was there. It was almost to the point where like my eyes were sunken into my head.
Yeah.
It's like
my mom. I completely understand that one.
Like one of those things where like I would go home to see my mom and she would be like, I think something's wrong. Like, you know what I mean? So there's like another level, I think that you can get to, and I hope you got there this year. But that's what I think they're talking about. You definitely have the size, dude. Because I saw you. I remember seeing the lineups last year, and I was like, "Who's that guy?" Because I didn't know who you were, and I was like, "Who's that fucking guy?" And it's you're there, dude. You're there. So.
You know, and I think, you know, for me, it felt like obviously for years of kind of playing with this, kind of having this mental battle of this part. Last year was the first year where it became clear to me that is no longer a thing for you anymore. You don't have to focus on that anymore. Change your mentality now. That's no longer a problem, you know. So coming this year, it was more like a resolve and a feeling like, okay, I need to change my mentality. It doesn't work that way anymore. The last thing I want to do is step on stage again and then get told, oh man, you got everything. If only you just that little bit more, you would have had it. And as much as there's nothing worse than having that told to you after you get off the stage, man. When you think, oh, you were that close, if only you just like, oh, come on. So we felt like we said basically, you know, if I have to diet my ass off, if I got to eat dirt, if I got to do whatever, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm so pulled in that I don't just look and go, yeah, finally, you know, there you go.
Okay, so let's get into this year because I wanted to cover the history, so now I got a lot of that. But I want to get into this year because you're in a strange situation. So tell me where... Because of COVID, obviously, you probably had to bump a couple shows back. So tell me where you started dieting for what show originally?
So basically, we got the invite for the Arnold Classic South America.
What day was that?
The show was supposed to be in April, I think 24th of April.
Okay.
But so we got it back in January. So we started dieting back then.
Oh, shit.
So obviously, dieting through January, got to March, and then this whole thing blew up. Yeah. Everything got locked down. That's the end of it. Show got cancelled. So we kind of sat there. We looked at everything that happened. We were like, okay, right. It's time to make a decision. Okay, I'm halfway through a diet. Do we just call it quits and say, okay, well, that's it. Call it a year, or wait for start dieting again when things get picked up, or do we want to actually just keep push through this whole process, and then when a show finally pops up, whatever it is, just jump on stage and go that way.
Sure.
So I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I was so driven coming into the prep, and I'm thinking in my head, this year I'm going to freaking do whatever it takes to really nail it. And my mentality was already like that laser focus this year anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, let's keep going. I don't care. Let's just keep going. So we started kind of carried on dieting in there. So finally got to April, the show was cancelled. Following weekend was supposed to be the British Grand Prix. That got cancelled. And then I think it was New York. That got moved over.
Yeah.
Chicago, California. So you can see the thing where
they all went,
every show we were like 7 weeks out, no, it's gone. This one, no, it's gone. And it was like one show after another. And when we were kind of like obviously training and doing everything during that period, with every knock, it felt like again. And it kept on just one knock after another knock after another. And it just felt like it was going on. And every time that happened, we had to kind of pick ourselves up and go, come on, all right, fair enough. All right, here's what it is. Focus on the next one. Let's go. What was the next one? Yeah, okay. Start working for that. And we kind of just had that mentality throughout the whole COVID-19 thing. And what it kind of helped me did was during the whole process where everybody was kind of like, there's this panic and everybody was kind of negative and they felt all down and everything. It took my mind away from that. I didn't have time to focus on that. I was completely focused on like training and that and trying to be that. So I didn't feel like it absorbed me into that whole world of it.
Yeah.
And I kind of really appreciate it for that, So eventually Tampa in August finally reared his head like, whoa, okay, this one's for real. It looks like it's going to happen in August. And we were 8 weeks out then from Tampa. So I was like, okay, let's go. That's the next show.
Yeah.
So we started going through the whole prep and everything. I was getting close. Even then, when the Tampa came up, in my head, I was thinking, yeah, you know what? It probably won't happen, but let's just go anyway. Come on. So we carried on going, and okay, it's getting closer. The show, it looks like it's happening. It's getting closer. It's happening. And then it finally got to the point where like 4 weeks, I think, no, it wasn't even earlier than that. I think it was about 6 weeks out. And we're like, this one might actually be happening. Things look like they're picking up. Okay, what do we have to do to fly to get to the US? This became the main thing. I was like, okay, let's look into this. So there was a government legislation passed out on 22nd of May saying professional athletes from certain sports can fly into the US, compete, given the guidelines and whatever. So we thought, okay, right, call the US embassy, find out what you got to do to actually pass for this.
Yeah.
So we started doing the legwork, calling around, checking around all details, calling the Homeland Security, calling everybody, trying to find and say, look, this is what the issue is. We're trying to go in for this date, for this show. What do we need to do it? Do we need a visa? Do we need this? So basically, they told us, okay, you need to get your approval from your Pro League Federation, get a letter of approval that you're coming for this reason, whatever, and we can grant you access to come in. So contact the pro league, they send the letter, they send everything else we need, they gave everything, show invite, everything, contract, sent it over to them, do everything else, say, okay, everything else cool. Looks like we're fine to go.
Yeah.
So even when we wanted to book our flights, we called Bridget and we were like, look, this is the situation. We're coming in for this show. We got all these letters. We got the invite. We got everything granted. Is there a problem? Is this fine? And they were like, no, but if you got that, then yeah, of course it should be fine. We don't see no problem in it.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, cool. So came into the week before the show. Everything still looks good.
Yeah.
Thursday, flying out. Drove to Heathrow Airport. Got to the terminal. Got to the check-in. Handing everything else. Say, okay, right, we're going. Lady was all, give me a minute.
Oh, no.
She called a guy over from Homeland Security that was in the UK at the time.
Yeah.
He looks at the paperwork and he goes, oh, we haven't been given, you haven't gotten approval of you. We're not aware of you coming. I'm like, but the emails, everything's there, the paperwork, everything we have is here.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but they didn't tell us you were coming. We can't allow you to fly.
But you had the paperwork. I don't understand.
So I'm there, and at this point, it feels like the ground just opened up and swallowed me up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, no, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
So we're trying to speak to him. I was like, look, can't you just call them up and just say, look, this is the situation. This is what's happening on the ground. Is it okay for this guy to go or not? He didn't want to know.
Is it because you were a bodybuilder? Like, was he being a dick, or was it just because?
Yeah, he was being a dick about it. I don't know why, but they keep giving you the law. There's nothing I can do. That's what it is. You just got to hope for the best. I mean,
he wasn't trying
at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I was like, my flight is in 2 hours. You can't even call. So he's like, well, that's it. That's all I can do. You just have to hope for the best. I'm like, at this point, I'm in tears and I'm begging him. I'm like, look, you can see what I'm going for. You can see everything. You can see everything. I'm not going on a holiday. I'm not going for a thing. This is something I'm genuinely been working out for. I've done everything. Look, tell me, what more could I have done? Literally, tell me, what more could I have done to make this work? He's like, no, it's not your fault. They didn't tell us that you were coming. I can't approve you flying without being aware. No. So even the ladies, the people that were checking in, doing the check-in in it, even they were like kind of just like in shock and knocking their head going, this is like seriously. Yeah. So coming in and, we just kind of looked at it and it was almost like that resolve coming in and going, this ain't happening. This ain't going to happen for us.
So what happens at that point? Like, do you get your money back for the flights? Do you get any
It was literally half an hour before we were about to fly, because you basically have to cancel before the flight goes, oh, that's it, you missed it. So my girl basically just called up British Airways and said, look, we're not going to be able to do whatever. Can we just have a refund for the flights and everything else? So they basically gave us a voucher back. So, okay, yeah, you can refund the flights. We called up the hotel in Tampa and said, look, this is what's happening with them. And they basically refunded that for us. So we were kind of like, oh, at least, you can pick that out of it. I mean, it doesn't make it any better, but at least you got out of it. So kind of like, okay, we drove home that day. And it just felt like that weekend, we're like, you know what, let's just go away somewhere. Just take a road trip anyway.
Let me ask you this. Are you like me? Like, I'm kind of an emotional eater. So like, if I get like, not pissed off, but if I'm disappointed or upset or sad, I guess sad, I don't know. I'll go eat it. Like if I were you, I probably would have left there and went right to like the pizza place.
I'm the opposite way. I'm the other way around.
Okay.
When I actually don't eat. Anytime I stress, I actually completely lose my appetite. Like everything goes. Okay. My girl has to keep telling me, you gotta eat. And I'm like, I can't. I just don't. So it was basically that. Yeah. So I think we kind of got home and we just thought, you know what, we got to get away from this because we can't sit. If we sit at home, dwelling on this, it would destroy us. Yeah. So we basically went away for our weekend. And then obviously we heard about South Korea show, which was 3 weeks from that.
Wait a minute before you go on. Yeah. Did you watch the Tampa show at all?
Yeah. So we didn't watch it live. I saw bits and pieces and clips and stuff about it and everything else. And it's kind of them show where you were watching and it's like you're so hurt inside and you're looking at it going, man, I wouldn't know where I placed. I know I definitely would have made the top 5. I definitely would have been in there, fighting for that top spot around that area, pointing it.
Yeah.
But it was one of them things where I really just felt like, you know what, man, I really don't want to know. I really don't. It kind of hurts you inside that way,
Not to put salt in your wound. I mean, maybe this is a silver lining for you. I don't know, but if your conditioning is where you say it is, I could have seen you in the top 3 call out. Like, it's not top 5. Like, I would have seen you compared with Ian and Hunter, and I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, You had as good, let's put it this way. You had as good a chance as anybody else of winning that show. Let's put it that way. I mean, like that's.
Yeah, I mean, we felt had that mentality going into the show. I mean, in our head, we were like, look, we're going in, we're going to bring our best. We know we're bringing our best. With our best, we know we can stand next to anybody and actually hold our own together with it.
Yeah.
So, kind of seeing that, and I was just like, you know what, man, it hurt. It hurt a lot. Seeing. So at that point, we kind of, when we got home after the weekend, we sat there and we kind of finding out about Korea. And then it's coming up to us that, someone first said to us in social media, they won't let you go to South Korea you got to be in quarantine if you go to South Korea. I'm thinking, what? Even that show now? I can't. You got
to be in quarantine when you get there.
When you get there, 14 days quarantine before you get there.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm thinking, what? Like, surely there must be something. So we were basically looking up online, and Korea have more information about it. And they say, there's a quarantine exemption for certain people coming to this South Korea. Okay. So we'd be like, okay, you can apply for it. So we basically filled out all the forms and everything else through that weekend, sent to the Korean embassy and everything else. Got home. I think we got home on Monday evening.
Yeah.
And got the email back saying, nah, we're not approved. It has to be humanitarian purposes. You have to be a scientist or whatever. You have to be part of that group for you to be approved. Let's do it. So at that point, it felt like I was holding on to that for a ray of light for me to feel like, okay, just move on to the next one. Don't focus, move on to the next one. And then having that, it was like damn, no. And it felt like, I remember we were sitting on the floor in my living room. I was just in pieces. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
We've been dying for so long.
You've been dieting since January. I mean, that's crazy.
And in my head, I'm thinking, there's only so many motivation you can feel going from show to getting one cancellation, bad news. I'm thinking, I can't do this. If we ain't doing the show, that's it. I can't do this. I'm done. So we kind of sitting there, and we just kind of like, man, okay, what is it? So I don't know where the idea came from. I think one of us must have said, like, what about if we actually, do it, go for quarantine for 14 days before the show? And I'm like,
You're fucking crazy, man.
Never work. I'm like, nah, come on. In your head, I'm thinking, I'm already seeing red flags on, you can't, no, it's not possible. Nothing can happen. Yeah. So we basically called up, we messaged up the promoter. We basically asked him for info and everything else. And he told us, look, this is the process. This is what's happening. South Korean government, they're not having none of it, blah, blah. At least they're having a lot of trouble going there. So we basically sat there, and I'm like, literally, it was the Tuesday, and we were like, should we do this? And she was like, well, you can go alone. I'll hold the fort here. You go alone. You can do this. So the more I'm hearing it, I'm thinking, after everything we've been through, why the hell wouldn't I be able to do this? I mean, we've been through, I'm like, hell, why not? I'm thinking, with your age stage ready, I got to hold my condition and for 2 weeks in the hotel room. And then at this point, we're thinking, okay, my head, I'm still like in a fairy tale. I'm still thinking, okay, man, quarantine, probably like a nice facility. You go out for one day, you get fresh air. Blah. I'm thinking, surely there must be a way to get to a gym. There must be a way to get something.
Yeah.
So call the Korean embassy, say, look, can we get more information on what it's like in the quarantine? And then they gave us a number in South Korea about the whole facility that do the quarantining. And we started speaking to them and find out information. And they're saying, okay, it's designated hotels all around South Korea you're going to stay in. You get in the room, you're not allowed to leave the room at all for 14 days.
No way, man.
You can't go at all, like none. You're not leaving the room door. 3 meals get delivered to you a day, left outside your room door. At no point are you allowed to have anything other than that. That's it. That's you. For the whole 14 days, that's it.
How are you surviving? Okay, go on, carry on. I got a bunch of questions. Go on. Yeah.
So we listen to this. I'm thinking, oh shit, that's not even possible. I'm like, already that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, 3 meals a day. I'm like, nah, it's not even gonna happen. So we're thinking, okay, already we're trying to think about, okay, how can we make it possible? How can we work? How can we do it? Thinking fact, so we called the promoter and I was like, look, we're thinking about it, but it's just coming up more and more like impossible. And I was like, look, and he's like, okay, if you're gonna do it, you better look to fly out this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this weekend, this really? Like, you? And I'm like, shit. And I was like, okay, we can get a flight for Saturday. He goes, nah, if you really want to be sure, you got to fly even sooner than that. So I'm thinking Thursday. I'm thinking, in a day's time, I got to be on a plane, make a plan, get on a plane, be in South Korea. So we kind of like, oh, crap, okay. So my girl, she snaps in, okay, right, all your food, all the meat, everything you need, froze it, put it in the freezer, freeze it all. put everything you can, as much meat as that you can carry, have it all frozen and everything. She's on the phone to the airline company. She's basically transferring our flights over. She's doing everything else, calling the promoters. Promoters are even behind it. The promoters say, okay, right, don't worry, we'll meet you at the airport. We'll sort you out. You don't worry about this. You know, I'm thinking, oh man, okay, this is now becoming more doable
reality.
in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is actually going to happen, and I'm scared. I'm like, I've never even been to this part of the world before. I'm already thinking, Jesus Christ, this is crazy. This is crazy. Oh, I'm scared. I don't know what I can do. I'm thinking, come on, get it together. You can do this. Of course you can do this.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to tell me that you can't train in a hotel room for 2 weeks. Come on, man. You can do this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So we got the bags out. Basically, we just took all the Tampa stuff out. And I'm like, okay, don't bother with the outfits. Don't forget, because you ain't going to freaking be seeing anybody. You ain't going to throw as much food into it as you can. Get the shakes, get the powders, get the baby rice, throw anything. Went to the shops, we bought of sachet rice, put it all in there, and we think, okay, right, if we can just manipulate our meals to have, because you're on a diet anyway, so just manipulate to have 6 meals a day, just break it down, you know, and we can make this work. Yeah. So we speak to them. They're saying, look, if it's possible, we're going to try to get some food to you. If you can make it past for the second half, we'll try to get some meals to you and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm like, look, anything you guys can do, great. Let's just plan it over. So we threw in as much frozen food and everything else as we can, packed all our stuff up, straight to the airport on the plane. Yeah. So I'm like, get on the plane. Now, we arrived in South Korea, and after a 17-hour flight, I'm on my own. And already my heart is pounding. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, what the hell am I doing? This is crazy. This is, you know, and it's one of them fear where your heart, you start feeling that fear like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. So we're like, okay, come on, hold it together. You've come this far. Get to South Korea. We're in the airport for 4 hours, and they're taking you from one interview to another interview to another interview. They're checking your temperature. They're checking this. They're checking that. They're asking your purpose of your visit. Why are you here? Whatever. Who did you know in South Korea? What's it for? They're taking all your details. 4 hours I was there. At the end of it, it felt like an interrogation. I felt like I was just tired. I was like, I just want to go. I don't care. Just do something. So eventually, put you on a bus, drive you straight to the hotel. Yeah. Taking the guys that are picking you up from the hotel, they're all in hazmat suits, completely covered up. Like goggles, white suits, everything. Bring you in there. Wow. Check your temperature again, check everything again, check your details, give you your room card key. That's your room. Go in there. You enter that room. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Oh my God.
You know? So been in the room like that.
So this is the room. You're in the room now. You've been in this room.
It's the room now.
How many days have you been in there now?
7 days. Officially 7 days today.
Are you going crazy?
Oh, I'm holding it together. Really, believe me. To be fair, it's been hard, and I've only had one period where I've totally crashed, and I had to call myself going, "Oh, this is insane. I don't know. I'm falling apart here." And she kind of talked me down. But,
one second. I want to show people your Instagram. So this is anybody who wants to follow Samson, go to IFBB Pro at _ Samson Dauda. It's D for those listening. It's DAUDA. I saw this video. It made me fucking laugh. This one here. You're doing cardio.
This is like, how do you keep up your cardio? How do you keep up your training?
Okay, you're running. Okay. For those of you who are listening, you got to go on YouTube, find this timestamp, and watch this. Samson or go to his Instagram. He's running on the spot in his hotel room, and now you're doing handstand.
That's all I could train. How can I train shoulders if I got to do upside down presses? I'm like, okay, that's one way to get the shoulders out done. Okay, cool. Next one,
Dude, this is insane. This is hard. This is what you call hardcore. And you look really good.
Because you just look, do whatever it takes. Come on, man. Surely, if you're hungry enough, you can find a way to do it. It's like, come on, surely there must be. If there's a tiny chance that you can make this happen.
Okay, so other than describe what your workouts are like every day. Like, what's your how do you set it up? Is it just whenever you feel like it, or do you actually have a system?
No, so I basically have a system. Basically, what happens is, since I came here, South Korea is 8 hours ahead. In my head, I'm like, okay, because I got to be on my phone to my girl, and she probably, when I'm awake, they're pretty much going to sleep, and vice versa. So I haven't climatized to their time yet. So I'm asleep during the day, and I'm awake all through the night. Okay.
Right.
So basically I'm still working in reverse. So right now I think right now is like just coming up to midnight.
Yeah.
But I'll be up till 5 a.m. in the morning before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I'll wake up and carry on going that way. So when I get up, basically, I'll do my cardio up to an hour, just basically jogging on spot, just kind of getting heat on getting burned and everything else.
Yeah.
Then I'll have my breakfast, get my next meal in and everything else. I have 3 meals first, and then I'll do my training session. Now, we know for well that obviously being that close to the show, legs, you don't have to push them out hard anymore. You're already 2 weeks from the show, okay?
Yeah.
So my last session before I came here was basically a really heavy leg session. I just have to get a little blood in them, and that's cool. Now, upper body has to be a priority of keeping that fullness and everything else down to the T. So chest, shoulders, back, hit them hard as hard as you can in the hotel room. So things like, I'm taking the fact that you only got bands and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was basically the idea of, okay, improvise. Come on, think about a way you can make this workout work, Shoulders, okay, I can do definitely upside down presses off against the wall. I'll get the presses done. Chest, simple, press ups,
push-ups, as
much as you can do it in any form, you can do it to make it harder. Go ahead, do that. Back, we've got really thick green bands. Get it in there as much as you can. Do whatever. Lift the bed if you have to lift.
But what I mean is do you still have your workouts structured, like one day shoulders, one day is back, or are you mixing? Okay. Yep. No, so you're not just doing whatever the fuck you feel like. You have
completely structured. Like today we had a chest workout. That's why I posted that chest video. Today was a chest day. Tomorrow I'm resting. Sunday, Monday back day. Tuesday supposed to be normally Tuesday would be my leg session, but no legs because a week before the show. Yeah. So I'll probably focus on something else, abs or something like that. Okay. Shoulders, and then carry on one day until we get to the show. But basically, I still have the exact same structure.
How are you cooking your food?
Oh. Well, this is what I'm doing. So they've got this tiny little cooker. I don't know if you see it. Let me see if I can put it in there.
Okay, you got like a stovetop. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Tiny little stovetop we put in the box as well.
Yeah.
We loaded the box up with everything we could possibly grab. And we were there, but we're thinking, please don't just let it go through. Don't let it go through because we need things in that box. And the box was actually, I think it was overweight by 4 kilos. And the guy just looked at me going, and didn't care. Like, oh, thank you. So we finally got that in there. The promoters managed to send me a microwave, which I was like, oh, wow.
Nice. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then they've been on the ball, man. I couldn't thank them enough. So it was like coming into the week, basically all the frozen food at this point, they're pretty much gone. Okay. So I'm like, okay, what can we do? So I asked them to look, and the way they're quarantined here, they're very strict about it.
Yeah.
You're not allowed, and if they don't, no matter what food the promoter tries to send in or whatever, they got a vet. They don't want that happening. And I said, are you quarantined for something? What reason just having food sent to you? Why is that such a big deal? But apparently they don't want to take credibility if you end up dealing in the facility or whatever. Yeah. So they don't take it. So eventually, I think it was 2 days ago, got a box finally delivered to me, and they actually let through. And it was boxed, and it was loaded with egg whites.
Nice.
Complete liquid egg whites loaded in there. And I opened this box up, and believe me, I had tears coming out my eye. But I was thinking, oh my God. Because at that point, I was about to run out of protein and just start sticking to protein shakes. Yeah. And I was just over that one, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, yes, I can have eggs all for every day. That's fine. As long as I got it, it's cool. I'm happy with that. So they sent that over, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So it's just kind of just like, it's basically you literally just living through the small things and just putting little things, holding on to little things as much as you can, and just staying on track with that.
Are you still getting the 3 meals a day that they're giving you? Are they giving you anything that you can actually eat or no?
No. The 3 meals a day they're giving you, you might as well just throw in a bit.
What is it? What is it?
It looks like the kind of meals you get on an airplane.
Yeah.
The little bombardment of different things. You can't touch it. It's basically that.
Crap. Yeah.
It's
crap.
You can't. There's no point in it. So that basically you get that, and it's pretty much just you look at it and go.
Do you have a fridge?
We have a fridge.
You have a fridge.
It's one of the small little tiny little hotel room fridges and stuff. Yeah. So that's obviously all loaded up with everything I can possibly get. Egg whites, whatever. Just keep it as nice as possible. Hold on to things a little bit cooler and everything else.
Yeah, man.
But we basically be living off that, and it's like you believe me. You hear, and the tannoy goes off like 3 or 4 times a day, and they say,
"What is it?"
There's like a little speakers in the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
And this is it's like this Hunger Games in here. I'm no word. It goes up and they say, your food is outside your door. Please pick up your food, shut the door, do not lock yourself out.
No way.
And goes off. Next one comes on. Someone is coming to your room to check your temperature in the next hour, whatever.
No
and then
way.
You open the door, and they knock on the door, and there's this guy in a full hazmat suit, completely covered. They just stick the thermometer in your forehead and go, temperature, and walk off. That's it. And you lock the door.
Holy shit.
That's it. Every single day. Because my girl's been on the phone to me when that happened, and she's like, I can't believe this. This is insane. I'm like, this is what it's like. And it's like all the time. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, it's like you're living, it's literally like a science fiction movie.
Yeah. I don't know what the UK is like, but in Canada, people wear masks, but they're not like, nobody's wearing hazmat suits, and nobody's like, people take their mask off and stuff. And like, I can't imagine, like, they're taking it pretty seriously there, I guess.
Oh, very seriously. Very seriously. Like, completely. Because the fact that you can't even have anything brought to you. Like, you can't say, look, can I order a pizza and just drop it outside the door and let me have, no. They don't nothing.
Wow.
You know? And people are like, oh, why don't you get some weights? Why don't they send you some dumbbells or something? I'm like, you think that they haven't tried? They're not having any of it. They don't want none of it. I'm like, we've tried all that. We've already, I'm calling the hotel. I'm saying, look, I know you guys are sending the meals to me. Is it possible, just by any chance, can you just change it to like chicken breast and rice? Just that, just change it. No. We have our set meals. You neither have that or none at all.
Don't eat. Yeah.
Wait. That's it. And I'm like,
wow.
Come on, man. Surely it must be a lot cheaper to just get me a little bit of chicken breast and a little bit of rice than all this what you get. Nah.
I've never seen anybody want to compete this badly.
Oh, man.
You're one stubborn mother.
Believe me, it is craziness and stubbornness and nothing would have pulled you to this point. And I'm thinking, okay, if this means that you can finally achieve something you've been working for your whole life since you started this for, then hell, it's a small price to pay, man.
This is going to be, if you win this show, this is going to be the sweetest victory I've ever seen.
Literally, I don't even, the thing is, I don't even want to think about how it will feel. I'm like, look, just focus on what you got to do right now. Just focus on each step like that, because I'm thinking, this is the craziest thing ever. Because even I'm thinking, every time I'm thinking, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I know, it is. I'm like, it's just, you can't think about what you're doing.
All right. So what's your condition like right now? Are you happy with you're 1 week out, right? It's next week?
Yep, 1 week out. Officially 1 week out.
What's your condition? What's your condition like right now? Are you ready?
Right now, we stay ready. We're pretty much ready to go. Just got to fill out and dry out. And
were you allowed to bring your diuretics and all that? Like, are you taking any, like, I don't know, like, you're good?
One of the good thing about this was basically, because we were kind of concerned about that, thinking, look, would that even be possible? So we called up, obviously spoke to people that we knew here, and they said, look, even though if you can't, we got
take care of you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, well, lucky enough, we were allowed to get everything we needed to come through. So I'm like, oh, well, that's nothing we got to worry about. So hopefully we got that part sorted out. But yeah, it's just
what's your weight at right now?
So the last time I checked it before we left.
Oh, you don't have a scale in your room?
Don't have a scale, man. Don't know. So last time I checked before when I was sitting at 275.
Holy shit.
So
you're gonna go on stage around 265, 270. Somewhere in there. Yeah.
So somewhere around there. So
wow.
Yeah, basically going in there kind of like that, and it's like, yeah.
Who do you know any of the competition there? I've been seeing some Korean guy they keep posting on some of the pages.
Yeah. I think one guy, he did the show last year. I think he did the show last year. I think he's probably the biggest guy, and he's a big deal here in Korea. I think he's probably one of the biggest rival competitors in that stage at that point.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, I don't know any of the other guys in there. I think so far they only got 4 guys in the class.
So you might win the show with, like, you just might get your Olympia qualification because you went through all the trouble.
And this is just it, you're thinking, look, you're going through all this, you must be going through all this for something to be worthwhile doing. So I'm like, yeah, you know what, if I'm going to put myself through all this, I'm not going in the mentality to come second. No, it's all or nothing.
If you win the show, do you wait for the Olympia then, or is there something else you want to do?
Man, I want to do, there's another show in Spain that's happening. I think it's 6 weeks from that point on.
That's the one James is doing that show, I think.
Yeah, because all the British guys, they're coming back out now, and I really want to compete with them. And obviously the British Grand Prix, they've moved it to November as well. So what we'll probably do is probably have a break for a week or something like that. And then I'll be back on it anyway. And then, whatever show we can find out to do.
But if you win, don't you think it's better to focus all your energy on the big show?
Yeah, the thing is, it's true, it is to focus all my energy on the big show. But the way I feel about it is, if I have something to focus on there, it gives me that drive. Okay, I can stay. Okay, this is the next.
Stay more focused.
You stay a lot more focused. If I say, okay, you can take a break now, and the thing, I don't want to revert back to an off-season look and then start to re-diet again for the Olympia.
No,
because right now, guys from the Olympia, they already died for the Olympia. So for me to then come off and then say, okay, I'm starting, I think that will be more detrimental to me than actually saying, look, you might back off a bit to kind of give your body a break, but stay close enough to that point where you can, step it down when you need to.
So
I mean, he's already been crazy enough here, because I know at one point when we were having all the shows counseling of us, I said to her, look, if it means I got to prep all year to find one show, then I'm ready to do that. So let's go.
It's crazy. I just realized if you do win and go to the Olympia, you will have prepped for a fucking whole year.
For a whole year. Imagine that. And he's just like, the break I'm gonna have after that will be freaking unthinkable. I'm like, yep, give me all the food, give me all the time. Yep, just I don't want to see a gym for at least 3 weeks, just completely. Yeah.
You know what, you say that, but I bet you you're just like everybody else. I say that all the time. Like 3 days later, I'm back in the gym, like fucking killing it. Yeah.
Yep.
What was I going to say? Well, you brought something up that kind of rang a bell. Is there a friendly rivalry in the British scene between you and all these guys? Is it friendly, or is it like is a little bit intense?
It's friendly. Sometimes it's intense, but mainly it's friendly.
So you guys all respect each other.
Of course. 100%. I mean, me and James, we've been going backwards and forwards since we were amateurs. Like I said, he beat me into the British title in 2017. And mind you, that's the only time he's ever beaten me. So, James, I'm telling you that now. So, but since then, every year since then, I have beaten him in one show.
Is that true? Where did you beat him? Where did you beat him?
EBLS Prague. I placed 5th, he placed 6th.
Okay.
Last year, British Grand Prix, I placed 2nd, he placed 3rd. He's always just that part of my tail. And I'm saying, man, I got to widen that gap a little bit more, man.
Yeah, but I think he's
don't get me wrong. James grabbed him. He really wants it. And I'm telling him, I'm never letting you beat me again. No. Yeah. So there is that part. There is that part here. And it's I think what he's giving us the ability to do by having that, he's giving us to push ourselves just that bit more further because of it.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Some people, I think fans sometimes take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit of friendly rivalry is a good thing. Like I had it with me and Ben Pekulski had it, right? Because Ben was Ben was the other Canadian guy that was outspoken, and he was doing well. And I honestly think, even though like we never really got along like great friends or anything, but I honestly think we both pushed each other, because I think he always wanted to be better than me, and I always wanted to be better than him. And I think it's kind of unspoken that you guys are always kind of making each other better.
Of course. So. And the thing is, people tend to take it the wrong way. You say, look, I'm coming to kick his ass. And people think, oh, it's all serious. And no, it's we're athletes. We're competitive. You don't go into this sport. You're not able to put your body through all this if you're not hungry and competitive. Don't mistake that for arrogance. Don't mistake that for it's nothing more than what it is. It's just friendly rivalry. We might talk shit. Look, I'm gonna beat him. Don't worry, he's never touching me. It doesn't mean there's nothing personal to it.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, so it's not personal.
I can't honestly. If someone asks James, okay, was he looking to place ahead of me next year? If he doesn't say, yeah, he's looking to beat me, I'll be like, what's going on? Like, come on, surely you want to win. Surely, So there's nothing bad about saying, look, I'm working my ass off because I'm trying to bring my best so I can be better than this guy. I'll be better than all these guys and everything else. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we train so hard.
I think if you said, I only want to beat James and nobody else, then it would be personal, right? But if you're if you're saying I want to beat everybody, and James happens to be one of them, then it's not personal. It's like you said, we're competitors, and that's
like, especially in the British scene now. We have a British Grand Prix and everything, and everybody, I want to be best in the UK. I want to be best British. And I know Nathan is holding that title right now, but guess what? I'm coming after him. I'm like, I'm gonna get you. Soon enough, I'm gonna get you. But it's there.
Yeah, I think you can. So, I think it's really, you guys are all great. Like you, James, Nathan. I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody right now, but
Joe Howell.
You three guys stand out to me as very good bodybuilders. And I think all of you at 100% could be interchangeable depending on the show.
Oh,
you know
definitely, easily. Yeah.
So,
and
it's
and
cool.
I
It's
think
cool to see that, though.
it is cool to see that. And I don't, for me, I feel like it definitely brings that hunger to me. And, I'm in the gym and if I look at James' video and I see him squatting how many plates and he's pushing it, when I go to the gym to train, I'm thinking that if he's doing that, guess what? I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna do it too. It gives you that drive to want to push just a little bit further for it. So I think it is helpful.
I wonder why we do that, right? Because Americans don't do that.
No.
Like you never hear Dexter say, "I want to be the best American." Dexter just says, "I want to be Mr. Olympia." But it's weird if you're from another country. Like I always wanted to be the best Canadian, and like you're saying, you want to be the best British guy. Like it's weird when you're from another country. It's like you want to be the best. You want to represent your country. Yeah, it's like.
I mean, it's weird. I don't know why we do that, but I think it's just one of them things where it's like the small titles. Okay, it might be small, but you're like, look, this means something to me. I want this. At least if I can get to the Mr. Olympia, I'm going to get this. I'm going to dominate this part here.
Well, I think sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I just think it's one of those things that we also have like set goals in our mind of what we want to achieve before our time is up. We have things like, okay, at least we want to get to this part. And when we get there, we say, okay, we want to get to the next bit. So it gives you goals and that gives you that drive to aim for something, and I think it does motivate you when you have that.
Maybe it is the small titles thing that you said, because maybe if you're not ready to say I'm Mr. Olympia, you can take some pride in saying, well, I'm the best from my country. So it's like a title that you can have. Yeah. But I also feel like bodybuilding is an American thing. Like it's not, I don't know, that's weird to say. It's not an American thing, but I guess America is the hub of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're from another country, you're like, well, I want to bring my country to the US and represent my country. You know what I mean? Yep. So I guess it's hard to explain, but I see what you're saying anyway. So So I have one last question. I don't want to. I know it's like past midnight there, so I'm not going to keep you. But I have one last question. That kind of thought of it when you were talking about it, but I never asked. Why, at your level, did you never think to yourself, "I'm going to go with like a big name coach"? And I'm not implying anything. I'm just curious.
No, because we have before in the past, At some point, when we did our first pro debut, we said, okay, let's give it a go ourselves. We came off stage after our pro debut and stuff like that. And we kind of looked at it and we thought, man, I don't think we got what it takes to be ready at this level. I think we need some extra help. So we got with a coach then. I don't want to throw nobody on the bus. So I'm not going to say who he is. We got with a coach then. And we started working with him through the off season. And I put on a lot of size because of him. He taught us a lot. He taught a lot of stuff, how to kind of maximize my metabolism and eat more food and stuff like that. I put on a lot of size. And then when it came to prepping for that year, it kind of felt like he wasn't listening to, because we know the shortfalls. We've made mistakes in ourselves in the past. So when you're telling me to do something that we already know we've done in this squat and it didn't work.
It's not working, yeah.
It's not working. You kind of said, you mentioned it first time, you said, look, that won't work, But you're like, they're a coach, they probably know more than you do, so just listen. So you carry on and you think, it's still not working. And you keep saying, dude, I don't know if this is working. And they're not willing to kind of listen to you in that sense. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of talk about, no, actually, we got to step things up. We're coming close to the show. We're not getting any better. We're not getting leaner. We got to have to step this up. Yeah. So it just became a point where we kind of cut ties at that point.
Yeah.
Now, same thing last year after we then did our first British show. We got with another top coach then, and it kind of helped out, and he kind of did open eyes, and he kind of showed us ways to go from one show to another show. And then after the show ends, where we did our last show that year, we kind of said, okay, you know what, we plan out for the off season and everything else. Just didn't hear anything from him anymore.
Yeah,
he just completely quiet. And we're kind of like, what happened? What went on? So we kind of had to take the reins to ourselves and get back into working in it. And then when you've had that kind of experience with time, you kind of think, you know what, I need someone that's going to be in it 100% with me or not at all. I can't have, especially my mentality is like, oh, look, if you're with me, you're with me. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'll give myself 100% to you if you're willing to actually, tell me that that's what you're doing back. I don't want to be able to like call you up and say, look, this is what's happening, but I'm busy right now. Don't. I just can't do anything for you. Whatever kind of thing like that. So we kind of felt like, look, we know that we're confident in ourselves. We made a lot of mistakes, but yet we're learning along the way. There's nothing more powerful for us to pick up our own knowledge and learn our body ourselves. So at no point will ever be in a point where we feel like, if I don't have this person, I can't be in shape. If I don't have this person, I can't go. We learned ourselves, so it's our knowledge and something that we're always going to have for ourselves. Don't get me wrong. At some point, we will be in a point where we're like, look, that next level, we can't reach it alone, and we need somebody to kind of stick with us in that point. But until then, I think for me, it has to be someone that's just as committed into the actual work that I'm putting in as required, sort of thing. So I feel like I gotta find. Maybe I just saying, like I said, we're probably just saying find the right coach here that actually is willing to commit themselves as much as kind of like, okay, look, this is what you got to do, you know. And the thing is, I'm not a needy guy. We're not a needy guy. If you tell me, okay, this is your script for the week, this is your script for next 2 weeks, I'll be like, okay, cool, I'll take it away, and you probably won't hear from me for 2 weeks. And I'll be like that. And you tell me tomorrow, I was like, yep, done all that. Okay, what's next? And that's it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just having someone to like, look, communicate with you and tell you that, look, this is what you got to do, this is where you got to be, sort of thing. So.
Well, I'll say one thing. It's really admirable that you guys are doing it on your own and you're at this level. That's really crazy.
Well, thank you.
Like I said, it's admirable for sure that you can control your own destiny that way. But the other thing I'll say is, if I ever had a coach that couldn't bend with me, then I just know they're not a good coach, right?
Yeah.
There's never a reason to do things one way, right? So if I'm with a coach and I'm like, look, this isn't working for me, and they're like, no, you have to do it. That person is not a good coach, because like it's like some coaches are like, well, you got to eat fish, and I'm like, man, I hate eating fish. I eat it, but like, if I adamantly couldn't eat it, like if let's say I was allergic to it, right? And they're like, no, you got to eat fish or you're not going to get shredded. I'd be like, you're not the right coach. Like, because a good coach always has a workaround in another way to do things. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, mind you, this is one of the things we had last time where, because like I said to God, like, look, I work full time. So when I go to work, I have my meals all packed up in a bag with me. Okay. Yeah. And I go to work and I have my meals and everything. Yeah. Now, they couldn't understand the idea of, you can't call me on a day and say, oh, what are you looking at? Right? Okay. Oh yeah, change it. Next meal have this. Yeah. And I'm like, that ain't gonna work, you know.
You're like, I'm already at work, man.
Exactly. It's not gonna work. You've told me why this is why I'm having. So you gotta, you know, and the coach that can adapt to that. Yeah. It's like you gotta be able to adapt to the fact that most people actually do kind of work full time. They're not gonna be in a position to just change things on a whim and kind of work things that way, you know. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an amazing story if, you know, you and your girl get to the Olympia and you guys are successful by yourselves. I think that's an amazing story in itself.
Yeah.
But I think if you ever do look for another coach, just don't. The only advice I would give you is the two things you said are very important. One, like I'm with John Meadows, right? John has my best interest at heart. He's always like ready. Yeah. Whenever I call him, he's there. You know, he's always like, he's always worried about how I'm doing. Not just necessarily on stage, even off stage, right?
But
so that to me is important. And then the second thing is, if I tell him I don't like something, he's like, let's do something else. Like he always has a different plan, a different route, a different way to get to the end goal.
Yep, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think
that's for me. That's the kind of coach I work with. I mean, the same thing with like when it comes to some chems I just can't touch. I'm like, nah, man, look, because I tell them, look, this is what I'm on, this is what it is, and they always in shock about how little I gotta be, and they're like, well, you gotta use this, but you gotta use. I'm like, but do I have to? But you know, I mean, it's almost like the idea of belief of that of, look, you don't need to push your body that far to get to this point. You can actually slowly build up to that point. You don't just throw someone deep when they've never been there. Mm-hmm. It's hard for some coach to kind of accept that. Yeah. And it's like, look, this is, for me, some things are just a no. I can't handle it. It's too much, you know. And some coaches, they can't accept that. It's almost like, no, it's that or nothing.
Well, that's what I mean. And that's actually even more serious than the food. Like if I ever work with, like for me, for example, I'll say like, I don't like using insulin, right? Yeah. If I work with a coach and he's like, you have to use insulin, I'm not going to work with that coach, right? Yeah. Like when I started working, John's another great example. When I started working with John, he's like, look, you know, maybe we should start doing like this, you know, a couple times a week, maybe 5 or 10 IUs, whatever. I was like, you know what? I kind of don't like it. I don't really have a good experience with it. It usually just makes me fat. I adapt to it really quickly. I don't really get the pumps from it anymore. And he's like, okay, fuck it. Let's not do it then. And we just took it out.
And
it's like,
that's a brilliant mentality to have in a coach. And I think that someone that's that adaptable and is willing to work with you and not just stand there and tell you, okay, you got to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. I feel like that's not, I'm sorry, but it's a team thing. It's not just, you're not the boss and just telling me, oh, do this, do that, and I run around doing it. You got to work with me. You got to literally, I tell you, look, if I use this is what I'm feeling back. You tell me, okay, that's right, okay, cool. If this doesn't work, okay, let's switch things around and find other ways. Yeah. And I think that is what, for me, I feel like is what makes a team. It's not just one person telling the other person doing. It has to be backwards and forward, and me giving you feedback and you telling me, okay, no, let's try it this way.
I feel like if you have a coach that has that mentality, it's usually because they had one client that did really well with that formula, and they've applied it to everybody. And that's the only way they know how to do it. They don't know. Yeah. And to me, that's not a good coach. That's just somebody who's memorized the formula and they're passing it on. Yeah. But every good coach I've had, like, whether it was, because I work with John, I work with Chris Aceto, I work with Hani, I work with Chad. I never asked Chad too much because back then I was so young, I just did whatever he told me. Yeah. But with Hani and Chris and John, they were usually able to work around anything I wanted to.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I think that's really important. I think it's a good
good point. I think that is very important. That is very important. Because at the end of it, I feel like, as much as obviously we want to do whatever it takes to win, we want to do whatever it takes to be at our best. At the end of it, it's still your body, it's still your health, you're still responsible. You're still the one who's got to hold that to account at the end of it. So if someone's going to tell you, okay, look, I want you to do this, and you got to ask them, look, well, what's the reason behind that? They got to be able to explain to you, okay, it's because you're this and you need to get, you're too dry, you're not dry enough, you're not hard enough, you need to do this. And then I'll be like, okay, I see, okay, let's do it. Yeah. If you can't explain to me when I ask you a question, like, look, why are we doing this? And you say, oh, because that's just what it is, you just have to do it. I'm feeling like, do you really know what you're doing? I mean, seriously, So I feel like you got to be able to tell someone, look, the reason I'm telling you to do this is because this is why,
So what are you going to do for the next week in this room by yourself?
Oh, man, we're coming into peak week. I mean, believe me, we said like last week, this week just going back was going to be the hardest week of this whole thing. Because it was going to be 1 week where you got to keep your food training. You got to hold your mentality together. You got to stay focused and not fall into any deep down hole. If you can get back to that, the second week, that the show is only towards the weekend. It's peak week. So that it will keep you focused. That will drive you. So I think today I've been so freaking happy. Because I'm like, yes, 7 days. Yes, I did it. I've been 7 days. I'm like, you don't understand how it. Like, I've made it past the worst, but surely it couldn't be. We've done a full week running. Surely it couldn't be any harder now. Come on, the show is around the corner.
Have you ever seen the movie Castaway?
Oh yeah. That's exactly me when I.
You got a volleyball there somewhere?
I'll put a face in a protein shake bottle and say, "Hey."
No, because I wonder. Like, honestly, man, like when I was competing a lot, I was really bad at like my mental. I would get in my own head like before a show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I wonder by yourself. I'm not trying to like create anything, but like
it's true.
When you're by yourself in the hotel room for 2 weeks.
Oh man!
I know you do some cardio and you do some weight training, but honestly, most of the time you're just sitting there. So I'm like, are you? Yeah. Is it just like a rolling?
I'm doing whatever I can to stay distracted. I got my PlayStation here with me. Okay. I got everything, anything, books, audio books, anything to stay away from my own head. Because that's why I said like a few days. It was yesterday. Actually, it was yesterday morning. I had a complete breakdown yesterday morning because you're in a hotel. You can't go. There's no decent lighting in here. Yeah. You can't actually. There's no decent light in front of the mirror. So I'm trying to have a look, and record a video to show my girl I look this way. And I'm looking. I'm thinking, this looks like crap.
Yeah.
And and he starts working in my head, and I'm thinking,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
This is rubbish.
That would fuck with my head. Like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my girl, she was on. I mean, thinking back, this was early morning here, so it was more or less midnight at home. Yeah. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is bull. I can't do this. I've screwed up. This is just, I don't know. It looks rubbish. It doesn't come through. And she got on the phone and she starts talking and she starts speaking to me and said, look, it's okay. There's no way you would have screwed everything up by this time. It's all right. It's cool. It's all right. And she kind of talked me down for a while. And by the time we got to the morning, the sun came out. Natural lighting came into the room. We stood there and took the video. And she was like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. And we looked and I was like, yeah, okay, I see your point now. Okay, cool. Yeah. I was just having a moment and everything else. Yeah. But it does. And I know it probably won't be the last time either. No. Because your mind, you really, and I'm trying my best, like, especially when I don't want to look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to know. Okay. Only the time where we know we have to check in officially. Yeah. I don't want to know. I don't want to see, because you walk past, you know full well, you can look at him and go, oh, what the hell? What's that?
I can't believe you're saying that. It's so funny you say that, dude, because okay, so I used to mind fuck myself before a show. Yeah. And the way I learned not to do it was exactly what you just said. I would stop looking in the mirror. I would do my morning check-in with my coach, and then I would put my clothes back on, and that's it.
And exactly that. Just completely avoid everything to do with looking at yourself in the mirror. Don't do it. Just follow the work, everything. Don't look yourself in the mirror, because if you do, you end up picking up flaws, and you end up making that flaws 3 times as worse as they ever are, and you end up doing things to fix it to make it even worse than you did, and it will just completely crush you. So it's like, you definitely mentally, especially when you're sitting on your own, you mentally just don't focus on it. Do anything else. Don't just focus on anything else. Just keep yourself in that point on. Just do the work and focus on something else. Yeah. So I think that is definitely what it's been like this whole time, is basically, look, you're doing your training, do the training you can, eat the meals, stay away from mirrors. Don't.
Well, honestly, Samson, it's a very, very inspirational story, man, from start to end, like dieting the whole year and doing it with your girlfriend as a coach, and fucking, traveling and quarantining for 2 weeks. I mean, the whole thing is like a movie, but it's impressive, man. And I'm rooting for you. I mean, going through all you've gone through, man, I'd love to see you win. It'd be great.
Thanks, man. Thanks very much, man.
You got another week to go. Maybe we'll check in with you. Yeah. Maybe we'll check in with you at the end of the week before the show and see how you're doing.
Yeah, that would be great, man. Definitely. I mean, it'd be like, I think officially I get let out the midnight Thursday.
Oh, so you get a day before the show to go and get to fresh air.
Yeah. The show is actually on Sunday, so I actually get 2 days before the show.
Okay. Okay.
So I'd actually go into a hotel that I can actually leave when I want, which is like, oh my God.
So on the Friday and Saturday, will you go do some cardio in a gym and train?
I'll go to the gym. I think at that point, I really want to just feel like, okay, I'm out. I'll just get back, get that normal focus in there. Even I got to go get a pump up in the gym or something just official weights and stuff like that together. So even just mentally, to make me feel better mentally, But I definitely want to get all that done on the Friday, and then Saturday kind of rest up and say, okay, right, tomorrow's the day. Okay, you ready for this? Let's get your mind in the game. So
listen, I don't want to keep you longer. It's been a while, but I do want to get you on again, because the one thing we didn't discuss is one of your main fortes, which is posing, and we never got to it. But it's been an hour and a half, and I know it's late there, so I don't want to keep you any longer. But when I get you back, we'll talk about it. And listen, I appreciate you taking the time, man, and I wish you luck, and maybe we'll check in before the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, brilliant, man. Thank you very much.
Brother. Thank you very much, man. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and like the video. And if you get a chance, check out the description for all the different links to all the different places you can find Hostile and myself. And lastly, check out hostile.com for our new line of supplements and all of our apparel and gear. Thanks again for watching.